What's up? What's happening? What is popping? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another great edition of Symone with the Spizzles. I'm Symone, bringing you guys daily sports talk. So if you're new here, if you're old here and haven't already subscribed to the channel, stop what you're doing, leave a comment, subscribe, keep rocking with me. Also, make sure you check out the links down below. The first one is to become a channel member of the Symone with the Sports YouTube channel. The second one is to donate to my campaign for the 2025 Eagles Autism Challenge. So this is a fundraiser. All proceeds go to the Eagles Autism Challenge. I will be running in the race in May. So make sure you check out my fundraising link. I am trying to raise $350 before the race. I'm only at $50, so I need y'all help. Help your girl out, okay? So don't skip this. You know what I'm saying? Go right now. Click that link. Donate something. Like, even if it's $1, donate it, okay? But y'all, let's go ahead and get into the video today. So we are about a little over a week away from the 2025 NFL Draft. Y'all, time flies, okay? Gotta watch the time because it's flying right by. Time be flying, y'all. How we already at the draft? It seemed like we was just at the parade. How we already at the draft? I do have a mock draft coming this week. I already recorded the video. I'm a little bit kind of embarrassed. Not embarrassed. It was my first time doing a mock draft for this draft, and I definitely learned a lot from the first time doing that draft. So I will be following up with a second one after what I learned. You know what I mean? And you'll see what I'm talking about when I drop that video. But this video, we're going to talk about what is the Eagles' biggest draft need, and where can we expect the Eagles to go with their first pick? So two different things. One, what the biggest draft need is. Two, what the Eagles can do with their first selection. Because first selection could be at 32. First selection could be trading up. First selection could be trading back. But what the Eagles are going to do with their first selection. So I think the biggest need in this draft is defensive line right now. Especially with this draft being so heavy with defensive line talent, interior, exterior, like it's dogs all through this draft when it comes to the defensive trenches. The defensive line took a big shot. Okay. You know, I had to do some assessment. In the past, I would have thought it was another position, but right now I'm honestly thinking it's defensive line. We lost 3 players. We lost 3 contributors on the defensive line. We lost Milton Williams and Josh Sweat to free agency, and then we lost Brandon Graham to retirement. So that's 3 heavy hitters that's gone off the defensive line. So I'm honestly feeling like the trenches is the biggest need. Right now, our interior defensive line rotation is looking like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, what's brother name? Thomas Booker, and Moro Jomo. That's our interior defensive line rotation, which ain't bad. It's not a bad rotation. You know what I'm saying? It ain't bad. However, it could be bolstered. And the type of talent that's in this draft when it comes to the defensive line, we could honestly, boom, get a guy at 32, get a guy in the second round that can automatically compete for a spot ahead of guys like Thomas Booker and Moro Jomo, who's already been on the roster. Like, it's some great talent on the defensive line dripping in this draft. And then when we look at the edge, obviously losing Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. So the rotation right now is Nolan Smith, is Jalix Hunt returning. Then we added Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari. 2 great pickups. Azeez Ojulari obviously has a very high ceiling. Just going to come down to staying healthy. And then Josh Uche, you know, that's a guy that we're going to hope Vic Fangio can, you know, bring out that 1-2. You know what I'm saying? Bring a little 1-2. Do a little Zach Bond on. So 2 guys, obviously Azeez, we already know what he can do. It's just down to him staying healthy. Josh Uche is a guy we're trying to tap into, unlock, you know, bring out in a Vic Fangio defense. Again, not a bad rotation at all. However, again, this is a draft where we could go and select a guy on the edge that could come in and boom, maybe even be the starter. You know what I mean? So this is just kind of like a draft where like it's kind of seamless for the Eagles because I feel like the biggest need is defensive line. Lost 3 pieces there. And this is a draft that's loaded with talent on the defensive line. So it's like seamless. You know what I'm saying? Now the next question is, where do we think the Eagles could go with their first selection? So in my opinion, the biggest need is defensive line, right? So there's 3 ways I can see the Eagles going with their first selection right now. One, obviously defensive line. We just talked about it, right? Defensive line, that's one area I can see the Eagles going with their first selection. 2, I could also see us going offensive trenches. I can also see us going and trying to get Lane Johnson's replacement with our first selection in this draft. Obviously, offensive tackle is not an immediate need. However, Lane Johnson is on his last years, going to be retiring soon. And we know the Eagles are not going to want to wait till he retires to then go get his replacement. Like we've seen in the last couple of years with our old heads, our old legends, we've drafted their replacements like 2 years before they retire, a year out before they retire. So the Eagles are definitely not going to wait until the last minute to get Lane Johnson's replacement. And I can see them maybe getting him in this draft. We've already worked out several offensive tackles in our top 30 visits. We worked out several defensive linemen. We've worked out several offensive tackles. And those visits aren't just for nothing. Like the Eagles, their pre-draft visits are very indicative of what they might do, what they will do throughout the 7 rounds of the draft. Over 55% of our draft picks in the last 2 drafts were on top 30 visits with the Eagles. So it's very indicative of what the Eagles could do. We worked out several offensive tackles for a reason. And yeah, so I could see us two. So one, I could see us using our first selection on defensive lineman, whether it's interior, exterior. And then 2, I could see us using our first selection on a Lane Johnson replacement. 3, could we use our first selection on a defensive back? Whether that be safety or corner, okay? We obviously know we have a lot of change in that room. C.J. Gardner-Johnson gone. Darius Slay gone. Isaiah Rodgers gone. So a lot of change in the secondary. Could the Eagles use their first selection on a defensive back? Now, last year, we selected Quinyon Mitchell. That was the first cornerback that Howie Roseman has taken in the first round since Howie Roseman has been drafting for the Eagles, okay? Could we see him spinning the block twice like it ain't nowhere to park on corner? You know what I'm saying? Could we see him spinning the block twice like it ain't nowhere to park on corner? Now, I think this one is a little bit more of a long shot just because, like I said, it's just so much talent on the defensive line in this draft, and that's a position we really need. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles went that direction because, again, when we talk about these top 30 visits, hella visits have been used on cornerbacks. Hella visits have been used on DBs. Like the bulk of our pre-draft visits have been offensive tackle, DB, and defensive line. So again, that's an indicator of where the Eagles could go with their first selection, their first couple of selections in the draft. I'm not as confident in saying that they'll go defensive back. I feel like, honestly, the way I ranked it is probably, in my opinion, where I think the Eagles will go with their first selection, probably most likely defensive line, then maybe a tackle, or maybe DB. I think he'll probably go in that order. Now, I do think we'll go corner earlier in this draft, like maybe 2nd round or 3rd round, because we are spending a lot of attention on cornerbacks. Right now it's Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson as the cornerbacks on that's likely to duke it out for the spot opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. And if the Eagles aren't comfortable with Adoree and Keely, then we definitely could see them going like 3rd round or sooner with a corner. So we're getting a lot of nuggets from these pre-draft visits. And we obviously know what the Eagles need outside of just looking at the visits. We know what the Eagles need. Right now, Dallas Goedert's still on the roster. I feel like sometime soon, earlier in this draft. When I say earlier, in my opinion, I'm saying like first 3 rounds. Maybe 3rd round we'll get a tight end, because even if Dallas Goedert stays on this roster, I feel like the Eagles need to start looking and getting his replacement. So I feel like this draft could go like, I feel like we're going to get a Lane Johnson replacement, hopefully get a Dallas Goedert and bolster up this defensive line, but then there's corner. So there's a lot of different directions the Eagles could go in the draft. But I think that defensive line is the biggest need. And then outside of defensive line, I can see the Eagles using their first pick on a tackle or maybe a cornerback. Obviously, a lot depends on how these Dallas Goedert dominoes fall, because Dallas Goedert goes, and obviously, boom, immediate need could be tight end. But y'all, make sure you like this video, leave a comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Check out the links down below. Make sure you donate to the 2025 Autism Challenge fundraiser for me. Help your girl out, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.